That brings us to Presto Mobile. This is Annalise. You're going to lead this. You're going to show us the new era, the next age.
Well, the team will show you, actually. So I've brought in Karen as well. Oh, we actually.
Annalise, have you spoken to the board in public session?
I've not.
Since you became the new leader of Presto?
No.
Why don't you introduce yourself, 1.5 minute background about yourself.
You did this to me last time. So I'm Annalise Cherney. I've been with Metolinx Presto for almost 5 years. As of February 1st, I'm the acting EVP of Presto. Previous to that, I had been running a very tiny strategy team within Presto, looking at setting our overall direction and starting to run us more like a business as opposed to where it started in a way, which was a request of the transit agencies to build a smart card fare system.
And your personal background? Education first? I know the answer to this one.
I know you know. I trained as an engineer at the University of Guelph. I did a master's in applied physics at the Université de Québec at Trois-Rivières, and I have an MBA from London Business School.
Right.
And with that, I'll introduce Tom Hounsel and Karen Allicock. They're part of the team who, Tom runs product management for Presto, and Karen is manager of business development. They've both been with the organization for several years. I'll let them introduce themselves, but before I do, we're really excited to talk about Presto Mobile. It's actually been on the roadmap since 2014. This is something that we've been working on in the background. The team, quite frankly, has been working on in the background. And we're now at a point where, although we're going to show an early demo, so I want to be cautious that we're going to do all sorts of consumer testing and technology as well. So the end version may end up looking different, but we are very excited that, I actually brought these. So this was the first Presto card, right, that we all saw. And then we went through the rebranding exercise, which is kind of the next phase of how we fit into the ecosystem of Metolinx. And being able to use your phone to both manage your account as well as pay for transit is really that next phase we want to, that we're really excited to embark on. That said, we have lots of work to do, and so what we're going to present to you is a phased approach that we're going to start by building the account management and top-up app, which was always on the slate and we're now ready to start talking about. But that technology changes in the past couple of years have meant that we can accelerate some of the things that we had always had on the back burner much quicker than we had thought originally. And so we're at a point now where we think that the evolution of technology, but the expectations of customers not just allow us, but require us to move quicker and to build upon the infrastructure that we've built. And so, I'll hand it over to the team because they can explain it all far better than I can.
Tom, could you say a word about yourself, and then Karen,
Sure.
if you could do the same?
Yeah, I'm Tom Hounsel. I'm manager of product management at Presto. I've been there about 4 years. I have about 20 years experience in product management, and about 15 of those, the last 15, have been in payment innovations and related security technologies.
Excellent. Karen?
And my name is Karen Allicock. I'm the manager of business development. I've been at Presto for this is my 5th year. My background is primarily in operations and customer service. I was previously the manager of customer care at Go Transit. I left and then I came back to Presto about 5 years ago. And my team primarily focuses on customer experience for Presto, as well as product development, which includes accessibility. So I think, Phil, you probably met Yan. He works on my team. And he does a really good job of looking at design overall and ensuring that it's accessible for everyone.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that last bit. Who does that?
His name is Yan Richards, and he is on my team as a senior advisor, and his responsibility is around accessibility for Presto and Presto devices.
Around accessibility.
Accessibility, yeah.
And so he's an industrial design background, or?
He has a background actually in, I think he has a PhD in behavioral science, but he has been on a contract with Metolinx as a specialist around and consulting on AODA and other accessibility items. And then he was hired on about 3 years ago on my team permanently for Metolinx.
Excellent. Now, Tom, are you making a presentation?
Yes.
Fire away.
Okay, so let me start by saying, next time you're at a bus stop, if you just take a look at the people that are there, you'll probably find that most of them have a phone in their hands. And it's, it's getting more and more common. It's just right there in their hands as they're boarding the bus. And they're kind of having a phone sets expectations. You expect that banking's going to get easier. You expect that travel's going to get easier and that shopping's going to get easier. And I think you especially expect that transit's going to get easier. So Presto Mobile is basically going to meet that expectation. It leverages the investment we've already made in Presto. This is not sort of starting fresh. This is building on what we've got. And it's going to focus on making transit easier to choose and easier to use. So we picture this as happening in 3 phases. In the first phase, we're going to be introducing Presto Mobile to help manage accounts and cards. So it'll increase your confidence in what is my balance today? Can I load this card right now? And Karen's going to walk you through a prototype of the app soon, so I won't go into great detail on that. Phase 2, we're talking about a virtual card, which means basically I no longer need a plastic card in my wallet. My card can be on my phone. I can tap my phone directly. And for things like knowing whether if I step back into the subway, am I going to be paying a new fare or do I have an existing transfer? Your phone will be able to tell you that directly because your card is right in your phone. And then the other thing that will be added to this is
Have to tap on and tap off.
Yeah, and I'll be demonstrating that in a
Just tap
second.
with my phone instead of with my card.
Exactly, yep. And the other aspect is journey planning and notifications. And again, this helps you both choosing travel and choosing transit and using transit. It helps you choose because it gives you the option to see, well, what are my alternatives to just getting in the car again or things like that. And it helps you use because it gives you confidence that I know the train is coming or I know the bus is coming. So now I think, Karen, it's showtime.
Okay, awesome. Over to the fun stuff. So I'm going to go through a click-through prototype with you of the account management and top-up app for Presto. So for the purposes of this demonstration, you'll notice that I'm using an iPhone, but we're going to assume that this is a NFC-capable Android device, so I can show you the full functionality. So I'm just going to...
It'll work on an iPhone as well?
It will work on an iPhone. It's just that the instant top-up feature will not be available on iPhone.
Really?
Right. Yes, NFC, and we
Forever?
no.
It will be available on an iPhone when iPhone makes that capability possible for us to deliver.
So to be clear, what we're doing is we are leapfrogging a technology position that has been there before, and we start off with an Android product, and we will go into negotiations with Apple to make that transition to see how we get iPhone to the same place.
Was BlackBerry Android?
The new Blackberries like this one are
The
Android.
new ones, yeah.
Just switched to the iPhone.
Yeah. No, but it's a process, and I think
It's always slower than Android, always.
yeah.
And I'll say you'll still be able to perform account management functions, but the experience will be similar to on the website. So when you add value on the website, you still have to wait. There's a waiting period until you can tap and have it written to your phone.
And the purpose of this conversation is to demonstrate the prototype thinking, and so it's definitely not product ready, it's definitely not market ready for rollout, but having demonstrated the prototype, then we take our business case and our negotiations to Apple and say, this is why you need to come on board. So there's still a process that needs to happen to make this a commercial reality.
And I actually didn't tell Phil because I'm always afraid of telling him anything. But just by virtue of us doing this publicly and talking about this, Apple actually emailed yesterday asking to meet again. So, so I think there is interest, and Tom can comment about what's happening globally, but we really are
Pushing the envelope.
pushing and wanting to be at the forefront of our global peers, and there are a couple who are exploring in similar ways, but certainly this is an opportunity for us to step ahead.
So Karen, why don't you make the presentation before we take any more questions?
Right.
People are lining up with questions.
So I'm just going to restart the app so you can see the really nice animation that
Just-
shows the
whoa,
cityscape.
The screen has not been on, is it?
No, it hasn't been working for a while. We have to look.
All right.
Hey, there's a screen there, and there's one at the head of the table.
And Rob, just there's one more thing that's not in the thing is when is this going to be
Okay,
integrated?
let's hear the presentation, and then we'll have as many questions as there are.
All right.
Okay. So what you see here is a really clean, simple interface that customers can land on that shows them some key and critical information to be able to manage their account, and then some quick functions to be able to add value to their card, either a pass or value. At the top, you'll see on the card, you'll see the nickname, you'll see the fare type, which is adult, their current account balance. And if you have multiple accounts under your account, you can use the carousel function to swipe through the various cards that you may have under your account. You can have up to 10. Further down, you have the option to load funds. There's a quick launch menu here where you can add $10, $20, or $50 quickly, or add a specific amount. You can also see if you have add a pass, and if you have a pass, you can renew it from the screen. As well, if we scroll down a little bit further, you'll have your last 2 transactions. The great thing about this is that you can interface with this card. If you tap on it, it'll take you to the card details page, which will provide you with further information about your card. So more information about being able to load funds, your current balance. If you have a pending load, for example, that has not been picked up, you'll be able to see that here. You can also manage or set up an auto load contract from this page. Using the passes function, very similar. You can see the passes that you have on your account. You can load a pass, you can renew a pass, or you can set up or manage an auto renew contract. Transactions, more detail about your transaction history, which includes payments as well as loads, and then info, more detailed info about your card, so your card number and so on and so forth. So what I'll do now is I'll take you through loading value on the card. Remember that this is a very high level concept at this point. We are really testing these concepts. We'll have had 3 sessions with end user or customers on Friday where we're testing all of the concepts. We're doing a lot of A/B testing as well. So when the group, when we're having furious debates and we can't make a decision on what feature or what it should look like, we say test it, and we take it directly to our customers and test. But they're also testing all of the concepts and reviewing them and looking at usability as well. If we want to add value to a card, we're going to go back to Alex's card. I'm going to select $20 and then load selected funds. On this screen, I can change the amount. I can edit it if I need to. If I'm happy with it, I can then select my payment method. I'm going to choose Save Payment Method. You can actually save a credit card or debit card and select it from the screen. If this was an Android phone, you'd see Google Pay here as opposed to Apple Pay, or you can use your credit or debit card directly. So we'll go to Save Payment Method and then select Buy Now. And then what you would do is you would take your card and you would hold it to the back of your phone on an Android phone and wait until you see the check mark. You'd hold it there until you see the check mark that confirms that it's a successful purchase, and that would have written the amount to your card.
So to be clear, for an Android phone with this app, you don't have to wait the up to 24 hours that you have through the other channels like the web or the call center. So because it's basically talking straight to the card, this is all instantaneous. For those phones that don't have the capability, all the rest of the functionality still works. It's just that you would have that delay of when the funds are loaded to the card.
Right. And then it's the same, and then there's also a call out here to set up an auto load contract. We really want our customers to use it. It's a great feature. Everybody who has it thinks it's great. So then if we wanted to just add a pass, I'll do this quickly. You would select load pass, and then you would select the agency that you want to buy a pass for. Here it's really interesting because it will only show the passes that are available for you to load based on your fare type and the time of the month. And then you would select your payment method, Buy Now, and then hold the card to the back of your phone and wait for the check mark. And then you also have a call out to set up an auto renew contract as well.
Why wouldn't you just use your phone? Why do you put it onto the card?
We're going to get there.
We're going to get there. That's the next stage.
That's phase
This is
one.
phase 1.
This is phase 1.
Phase 2 is coming.
So that's it. So as we mentioned, the team is working really hard to move this as quickly as we can. We're doing a lot of testing. We're going to be doing further testing with internal teams as well as continue with our end user customers. And we're really looking forward to sharing what our final product in the coming months.
So to cut to the chase on the timing, we're targeting the end of the year for this first phase to be available to customers. keep in mind, we do the testing and everything. If we find blips, we would delay because we wouldn't want anyone to have a bad experience on day one. But that said, the team's been working really hard, and we're obviously feeling really excited about it.
And at a future point in time, we bring to you the discussion of how the work we're doing here links into the one app approach for Metolinx. So all other apps fall by the wayside, and this one app approach would feature these features.
Does that include like, the trip planner and things like that?
Yeah, so TripLinks, as Tom mentioned, the last phase, including trip planning and trip alerts. So TripLinks program still is a great governance and data collection program. And so the intent is that in the third phase, we actually integrate the two, and that becomes all part of one holistic
Absolutely.
view.
One app, one brand, one message,
If
everything.
you're overseas, you can actually plan it out,
Got
actually
it in
buy
one.
it based on dollar to dollar on where you're gonna be going before you can get to the airport.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, Tom, take us to the
So
exciting bit.
phase two is, as you were saying, basically, why don't I just use my phone directly? So in front of me is a Presto validator. This one is similar to the ones that are on TTC vehicles, but really I could have brought one from Ottawa, could have brought one from Go, because it's going to work on all of the validators. It's basically extending the platform we have. So if I take a plastic Presto card, tap it, the fare gets taken. It's basically the same thing with my phone. So, you know, the app that Karen walked you through is basically just extended to include the ability to kind of say, yes, I want a virtual card, put it on my phone. I'm going to use that from now on. So now I don't need this in my wallet. I just tap my phone. And you'll notice that I didn't open it up. I didn't fiddle with it. It just has to be powered on. I don't need data connectivity to talk to the reader. So it really is, you know, the thing that's in the hand of people as they're getting on the bus anyways. And as I mentioned before, we'll be taking what Karen showed and adding to where you see those cards, the detail about how much time is left on my transfer, right, which is probably going to be a very important question to a lot of riders. So as we mentioned before,
Sessions will be able to be electronically added.
absolutely the same. It works just like a Presto card does today.
Speaking on behalf of the seniors community.
Yeah, sure. So this phase is all, like the tapping the card feature. This one will initially come to Android and will be coming to Apple whenever they provide a framework that enables us to do so. So we're basically bringing as much feature to each customer as we can.
I think it's important to highlight too that, you know, Tom mentioned about the equipment. So this works on all the existing infrastructure, all the devices that are already deployed in the field. We don't have to upgrade all of the infrastructure to enable this to happen. This is partially only made possible by recent advancements on the phone side to enable this type of functionality. So we're happy that that Android has put this type of functionality in place, which doesn't require us to replace all of the expensive equipment. It's more when people have new phones that they're able to use this. So from an investment perspective, you know, getting the customer experience in the existing, you know.
So it's only new Android phones?
No, but
All
that
on.
Android has it, and those that have the functionality will be able to use it. So, you know, because other alternatives that are being explored worldwide and that we've certainly considered would require updating of the equipment. And so this is an advantage to being able to improve the customer experience, but not have this wholesale replacement of the equipment.
What percentage of Torontonians, GTHA people have Android phones, and what percentage have Apple phones?
It's almost 50-50 in our findings. But just to be clear, it won't work with absolutely every Android phone. It will work more, it'll be more likely to work on a more modern phone than on an older model. Not all of them have NFC.
But the important bit about what Karen demonstrated, so the account management app will work on all smartphones. So we're
Yeah.
you know, the first phase,
But getting rid of the card
getting rid of
will
the card
depend on a certain
requires, exactly.
modernity of phone, and initially the Android, but you would hope very rapidly Apple as well.
Yes.
And we-
Yeah, we
Phase
haven't heard
one
the
is
timeframe
the end
yet.
of, our target is the end of this year for phase one.
That's what you showed.
Yeah, but what's the timeframe for
So,
this?
so phase two, I think we need to have a conversation with. The world is changing in the next 6 or 7 weeks or so, and then I think we'll have to go and very carefully take our future roadmap for Presto to the government and discuss with the government what the program for release can be. So it's important for us to do this groundwork and the A/B testing and get to a place where we have a concept that we can work with. We're now busy working through the details of the business case, the payback, the bump in ridership that we expect from people having a greater ease of traveling, and then we'll talk to our shareholder and agree on a timeline for release. Fact is, I am exceptionally keen that we move forward on this. This is why we're demonstrating it, because this is shifting the Presto brand significantly from a car-based solution to something that is more integrated with fare integration solutions, more integrated with ease of travel.
Yeah, actually, I'd like to build on what Phil just said. I think the primary principles that we're working on are regional traveler first. So this has to, whatever we're doing has to work throughout TTC, GO, Brampton, Hamilton, and so on. So no matter what, we're not doing something that's for one transit agency only. And secondly, that we're being mindful of the spending. And so to the point of what are the phases that we can do so that we're both keeping up with evolving customer expectation, because it will ever increasingly have expectations of the new thing coming down. I remember when I started at Presto, Apple Pay didn't exist. Literally. It wasn't that it wasn't big, it didn't exist. And so the things that we're putting on our roadmap today, fundamentally we will have to reevaluate every year to make sure that we're actually, moving with the trends, not always wanting to be at the forefront, but certainly wanting to meet the expectations so that we are actually increasing travel, because the intent is that we're making travel easier, not just that we're doing what's cool. And so it's that balance of moving quickly, but being mindful that we're...
Howard and then Ann.
Just one. So in terms of the roadmap, so I feel the next roadmap, number 2, and looking at what you've done, obviously it's the implementation of blockchain technology to a certain extent. So at what point in your roadmap are you also thinking about then the virtual currency aspect of it going forward?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we've had folks talking about blockchain on a regular basis. I think it's something that we have to think clearly if there's value. We have a very secure system right now that works really well. At the relative point where we're getting added value from changing some of these things in the way we move currency around in the Presto system, that's one side. And then the other side is being open to other currencies entirely.
And think about the currency point of view, because you're...
I think that'd be something we would need to discuss with our transit agency partners, because after all, this is their fares that we're collecting and moving back. And so this would be more a discussion that would happen at both here, but also at our common governance table.
And I think that as much the same way that Apple Pay came to all of the merchant community at the same time, if the phone companies were to start accepting a Bitcoin currency, that would probably come to us in the same way. So it'd be a framework that comes to us from the phone companies.
No, I understand. I appreciate it. So in terms of the current platform you have then, would it be a significant shift from the current platform that you're using to be able to accommodate that? Or would it just be a natural progression because you're into a virtual currency environment already, a virtual payment environment already?
Yeah, if the frameworks exist, then I imagine they would have been built in a way that makes it nominal work for us to add that. In the same way that, if Visa comes out with a new card, it sort of works with our system anyways. The phone companies sort of abstract us from that process by doing things like Apple Pay.
Yeah, but you've thought about it anyways. That's right.
I think these are the types of things that we would need to keep.
Because
Yeah,
we're way behind. We got multiple speakers. You take a note of the issue as something to have on your long list of things, but not anywhere near the top of it, given the sequencing that we're talking about. I've got Ann, then Brian, then Mary Ann.
Do you foresee doing away with the Presto machines that have been so controversial? And if so, at what time? Like
Which machines?
Reloads.
The Presto reloads that have, there's been a lot of controversy about the Presto reloads. Not every once in a while you see a news story. So if you were just guessing, do you think like in 2 years those Presto machines will still be around?
They will still be around. So a large proportion of our customers will always use a card.
Okay.
And we'll need them. On the issue of performance of those machines, yes, we're working on it to improve the performance. But we predict for a long time, just like there are always going to be, or it's very hard to not have cash-paying customers on transit vehicles. We expect that there's a certain proportion of our transit riders who will want to have a plastic card.
Okay, great.
Brian?
Annalise has already picked up on one thing I wanted to get on the table is for those of us who don't use phones, we can still use a card going forward. With respect to cards, Tom, you alluded to if Visa came out with a new product or whatever, could you ever conceive if for those who use cards, they could dispense with or have only one card in their possession, a Visa card that would be read for Presto as well?
So the nice thing about this technology is it works with the platform we have. To get to open payments and stuff, it will require investments in new readers.
Oh, so that will be at our end, not?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So yes, it has been and will continue to be on our roadmap to have credit card payments in the system. And we're going to, once assuming that we move ahead with mobile, in particular paying with your phone directly, I think we would want to see what larger amount of the customer population would benefit from yet another technology option. Because we may be duplicating efforts, so we'll have to see.
Thank you.
And then Marianne, you have the last word.
Okay, just I would say in the UK, they have credit cards, so it's much easier. You don't have to carry so many cards, and I can use my Canadian card and pay. I just want to link product management to product design, look and feel. And so I very much like what you've put on the screen. Offended by the green box, because the whole idea of Metolinx is that it is fair integration and that it's linking to other systems, whether it's the York region or it's the red TGC or it's the Go green. So we've just installed all of those machines, and I just have to reflect back, like we need to always be thinking ahead. So this is, we've just put these in, so we're going to see these for quite a while, unless the functionality is some tremendous upgrade. But it's, I don't know, Rahul, you had a similar kind of observation, right?
We sort of had a joint question, which is we've got the black readers up there and the green ones here. Are you going to be swapping them all over to the black ones at some point?
So it's a separate exercise based on the brand work that had been done, up to a year ago. There was a plan to, when equipment is being refreshed, to align it to the new brand standard. Obviously, with our partners owning the majority of the infrastructure, so outside in the 905 in Ottawa, that would have to be done so that it's fiscally responsible. So we're not swapping just for the look and feel, but it's when the equipment's being updated. That said, there are, in some cases, plans to wrap equipment where it's confusing, and so that if it's a customer impact, that it's holding it back. And likewise, there's a bit of marketing budget to ensure kind of some of this gets updated faster if there are no plans for equipment infrastructure changes in kind of the next immediate
You weren't
future.
around at that time, but this issue did come up, when the...
I thought of it when I heard the news myself. Yep.
Okay, so this looks great. Look forward to
Wonderful.
being coordinated and under the radar color-wise and available to everybody to push into their color-coded systems.
Phil, any concluding comments?
Just that for us, this is a great step forward in terms of positioning Presto and positioning mobile technology as part of an integrated solution with a single app. So we will continue with the feasibility work around this, and we'll come back to the board with a more detailed discussion in the strategy session about what our digital strategy looks like across apps as well as web-based platforms.
And are our transit partners keen on this?
They are.
Yeah, so we have, we brought this, our overall roadmap, which includes mobile, to the transit agency partners over a month ago, and they were supportive of the direction to move quicker with mobile. I think the fact that this it will be able to be used by customers throughout all 11 transit agencies, as opposed to something that would have to be rolled out sequentially, is a huge benefit. We want to include them in the testing and kind of verification, both the look and feel, but also the functionality of each phase to make sure that they're on board, because obviously it's their fair products that we sell. Yeah, we've had support, and we want to continue to work with them.
More particularly, given the relative magnitude of it, is TTC and the City of Toronto on side with this?
TTC is included in that.
But are they as keen as you're describing the group?
I think they're very enthusiastic, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
just want to make sure. Thank you very much, great job.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your presentation, really good.
Very good. Thank you.
Really good. That brings us to fair integration. Leslie?
Thank you, Chair. And I'm going to turn it mostly over to Martin, but we are here to report great progress since the board identified and gave advice to the government around the key initiatives to advance fare integration across the region, which was not just slightly over 6 months ago. And so we're happy to talk about some big steps in achieving fare integration. Over to you, Martin.
Okay, as Leslie said, we have made significant progress from when we brought forward an approach and you endorsed back in September of 2017. And at that time, we really changed the focus to first addressing a number of barriers in the system, but also keeping in mind we wanted to work towards a longer fare structure and strategy. So I'm going to quickly just highlight some of the things that we are doing on the barriers. You have the report, but the first one is the discount on double fares between TTC and GO and Up. And that one was launched in January. We brought that to you in the fall when the province had announced some funding. That has gone very well. We have rolled that out. Basically, customers pay the equivalent of $1.50 when they use their Presto card to transfer between GO and TTC and vice versa. We have seen a significant increase in the number of transfers that are happening. If we compare the first 3 months of this year to the first 3 months of 2017. However, there's a lot of things happening at the same time, which makes it confusing to get a good handle on it because of the Presto adoption rate that's increasing significantly on the TTC system. And so our feeling is that we are in line with our projections, and that as we track it over the next year, we'll have a better understanding of that. So that's been very successful, and I think you've probably seen some of the marketing campaign that's out there, and the awareness, I think, is continuing to increase. The discounts in the double fare between 905 and TTC, there was an announcement in the March 28th announcement of the 2018 budget that hasn't received royal assent yet, but it's progressing. That included some transitional funding to help the agencies, both the 905 and the TTC agencies, introduce a discount similar to what I just referred to on the GO TTC. It is money that's coming from the carbon allowance proceeds from the Ontario Cap and Trade program. And because it's only transitional funding, obviously there has to be agreement amongst all the parties. That work has not yet started because we're waiting for the province to do the final approvals. It will take probably some time, so we're looking at probably into 2019, but we will be working with them and supporting them, and that will particularly be important for Presto to be a big part of that. The exciting one, I think, is the adjustments to the GO fare structure. They were announced again in the 2018 Ontario budget. As I said, it's not yet received approval. However, we're doing a lot of work on this. This would lower our fares for short distance trips, and specifically, and you may want to refer to the map that's in the appendix, but all of the GO, if on the rail system, it does apply to the bus system too, but on the rail system, if you took all the GO stations within the City of Toronto, anyone traveling between them will be basically have, if they use their Presto card for an adult, $3 fare. It'll also apply if you're buying single fare tickets, and that would be $3.35, and the concessions would also apply. So that is a tremendous opportunity to increase our penetration and ridership within the City of Toronto, but also across the whole GO network. We are reducing the cost of short distance travel. So for approximately a 10-kilometer distance, we will be introducing the same $3 fare and on Presto. And so that overall will significantly affect a lot of our customers. Our estimate that is, not everybody uses our system every day, but our estimate is around 75,000 of our customers would see some type of a decrease. because when we do this within the City of Toronto, we also have to, we refer to it as feathering, but we will be affecting some of the stations just outside of the City of Toronto and adjusting their fares too. Overall, there was $70 million in the new budget to basically fund this over 3 years, and actually $90 million to fund this over 3 years. And as I said, we are working very closely with all the teams across Metolinx to get ready for this. There is work that has to be done through our fare systems and through Presto, and we are working on that, and our hope is that we will bring it back in the fall, and our hope is that we would look towards an early 2019 implementation.
Can I just add one thing, Martin, just on the lowering of the Go base fare? Not only the benefits to existing customers, we anticipate an increase in ridership of 10 to 15%, which makes this a really sound investment for us, and we anticipate it will continue to grow.
And just to kind of pick up on that point too, in the City of Toronto particularly, I think we've all heard about the issues on the subway network, particularly the north-south subway network. We've been working very closely with TTC. They are very hopeful that there will be some pressure taken off the subway with this. And so we're working closely to understand where we expect new riders to come and make sure that we have the right service to be able to provide that. Although I would say that our rail network, the all-stops trains, most of them have spare capacity on it. So it's a real win, and we're working very closely with TTC. But we'll also be working with the 905 agencies because there will be some impact, and we need to understand it and make sure we work with them on it. So finally, yes, Ann?
I'll let you do finally first.
Okay.
Fair policy.
Fair policy. I want you to know that this, I think, is another important part of the seamless travel. We've started an exercise. We've done work in the past and made some progress. But this time we're taking a little different approach. We are working with all the agencies as well as all the units within Metolinx, including Presto, to really look at it almost from a business case point of view. Where can we get benefit? There are some things that obviously are very important to make things more seamless for the customer. And so our hope is that by the fall we will have sort of an approach of how to move forward with that.
So Mr. Ford has announced that if he is elected, he plans to cancel the carbon plan, in which case there'll be no money to subsidize the fares. I think everybody here is hugely keen on your whole plan. Everybody thinks it's great. We've discussed this many times, so I think fare integration is just fantastic. I guess my question would be, have you, in discussion with everybody, looked at consequences of, do you need a plan B? Also, one of the earlier things, when we looked at the first set of numbers, the province committed a certain amount to subsidize. Do you remember, Leslie, we weren't sure if that was going to be enough to cover the full cost. That was when it was just between Go Transit and TTC. But now that so I guess my question is about the financing. And two what ifs. If the subsidies are reduced or not enough, are we going to be, because we signed a contract, are we going to, what are the impact on us? And should you be thinking about a what if in case of the election?
So maybe the way I would answer this question, we've done a lot of research, analytics to identify these are the right things that we need to do for fare integration in the region. The question about how the startup fundings or the transition pieces get funded becomes a bit more political, so I'm not sure I want to sort of weigh in on that partly, but we will continue to pursue these as the right avenues because we know these are going to be the right avenues. And whether it comes from one source or the other, I think we have demonstrated that the benefits that come out of this are to the advantage of the whole region. And so I'm sort of not answering your question directly, but I
think what's important to cover here is the magical number, which is in the business case, and this was not a business case paper, but the magical number for the benefit cost ratio is between 10 and 12.
Yeah.
So what that means is that 30 million a year investment in fare integration as a 300 to 360 million economic benefit for the region. And so when it gets to the funding choice, whatever happens with who in the next 6 weeks, we will have exactly the same conversation, and there's a choice to be made, and it's as easy as that. And there's an unambiguous benefit cost ratio of 10 to 12. And in transit projects, 2 to 2.5 is considered fantastic. So 10 to 12 is really powerful, and that's just a choice to be made. And that business case is well worked. There's extra ridership that's involved. There's benefits for different levels of our socioeconomic groupings, and it's just a fantastic benefit for the communities. And so the choices will be made.
But at this point in the cycle, I don't think it's right for an independent agency like us to talk about political impacts of different choices of government. I just don't think it's a topic that's appropriate for us as a board to discuss. Individuals, so of course, will all have their own preferences, but I think it's important that we not. And so I think, Leslie, your answer was the right answer, which is what we'll do is provide the advice based on the analysis you've done, and it's the right policy directions. We've had these directions in mind for half a dozen years. We've made a lot of progress. We want to keep making progress, but how it's financed, who supports it, those are not, I think, questions for us today. Upcar.
Leslie, maybe an unfair question, but the fare integration approach will have an impact on ridership patterns. What we noticed out with Up Express and the fare reduction there, we have more commuter traffic at certain times of the day. Phil has outlined, and when we talk about the BCA, we talk about upstream and downstream impacts, more dwell times because more passengers getting on at stations closer to the city versus outside. Will this mean looking at our express and local trains to readjust that to make sure that we reflect we consider the redistributive impacts of those dwell times in a meaningful way? I don't know if I said that question.
I'll start and I'll ask Martin to add, but the entire GO expansion program to Express Rail is predicated on fare integration. So we have built into what we are designing in terms of our service plan, including the increases to service over the coming years leading up to the Express Rail program being in service. So we always continuously, at every board change, recalibrate our service, whether bus or rail, to where the demand is moving and shifting. But because we have always made an assumption that fare integration is a fundamental, important aspect to the success of the program, it's inherently built in to how we're thinking about it. And then we'll calibrate as we progress on all these different stages.
I guess the difference being this is more significant more quickly than we might have anticipated in the RER.
I'm not sure.
I think we've talked a lot with our service planning people, and they feel comfortable. It may affect, to be honest, some of our buses a little bit more, but we have some flexibility. And so I think people are very excited about this. This opens up a lot of opportunities, and I think it allows us to work very closely with our partners. As I say, that TTC are having issues, and this is an opportunity for us to work closely with them, and I think they're very excited about it too.
I think the other thing I would add, just as Martin mentioned, it's short trips, which is actually a latent market for us, using capacity that we're not using now. So unlike peak period, this is a new market. So I think that we can take advantage of that.
And by the way, I wasn't trying to imply a negative.
No,
I think it's a fantastic initiative that's long overdue, just to be clear.
Yeah, I was going to say I took too long myself.
Does anybody else have anything they wish to say other than congratulations to the team for getting this? This has been very persistent policy making. Principle, theoretical, then more applied, then more pragmatic, and then asking for action. And you've really, it's taken a long time to get to ground with it, but it's landed in a very positive place, Leslie. And I know you and your team, you guys should feel really good about it.
You don't give up.
No, it's really, we're not home yet, but we've made a heck of a lot of progress. So thank you. Rahul.
So fare integration, what's happening on the service integration side? Can you give us a little bit of a flavor of what that could start to look like?
So the service integration work continues all the time on a day-to-day basis with our local municipalities. We are beginning to sort of round out with the local operators the getting ready for the RER and the levels of service that are going to be coming in the next several years, including the increases that we're anticipating between now and 2025. So there's our normal working relationships with the operators, and that we're refining that. We have discussed the idea of the Intergovernmental Forum with this table to address at a higher level how we can sort of more aggressively move to higher levels of integration on simple things, buses arriving at a good time to line up with train meets and so forth. So I think that's progressing well. I think we hope to have a bit more of a push now that we know more clearly what's coming forward with the Go Expansion program.
Do you want to comment a little bit on the agile cross-functional team we're putting together?
Yes. So we are doing a little bit, I was going to call it a SWAT team, but it's probably not a good term, a cross-organizational, cross-functional team to really not only think about local service integration, but other modes of integration, because the integration of our local buses and our services, it has implications also for roads, road capacity, priority signaling, which goes outside just only timetable coordination, or connectivity between active transportation integration and pedestrian and parking and all those pieces. So we have identified a cross-organizational team to really focus very much on that in the short term and getting us in a high state of preparedness for what is coming in the not too distant future.
So just to dwell on this a little bit, in our very specific conversation this morning that Rose commented on as well, is about how to organizationally respond to these things differently. We can keep on pushing from the top in terms of integration, intergovernmental forums and all of that. That's sort of top-down strategy. But coming in from the side now, we've got an agile team of directors in the organization that will drive decisions, explore what works or doesn't work. So it's an ad hoc team that will figure out, shake issues and old policies and old procedures around and look at what can we do to increase our growth rate of footfall from the current around 3.3% to 5%. So this is the first steps in that organizational dynamic that we discussed this morning.
That's within Metolinx.
Within Metolinx,
Yes.
yes. And it's led by Antoine Believ, and so very excited about that.
Any further comments, questions? Thank you very much, Leslie and Martin. Good work. To all of you who joined us today, thank you very much for coming. We'll see you again, I think it's June 25th or thereabouts. Is that right, Mary? June 25th?
Let me just check.
Oh,
It's around, you're right, it's thereabouts.
yeah.
It's always the last
Yeah.
few days of June.
I don't want to give a bum steer.
June 26th.
June 26th.
And 27th for the board meeting.
Oh, 27th. Committee's on 26th and board on 27th. Thank you very much.
Oh, really?
Because they have no interest?